Begin transmission.
You are listening to Corellian Run Radio, your route through hyperspace to the latest news on Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Hi, and welcome to Corellian Run Radio. This is episode 141, and we're recording Sunday, March the 29th, 2015. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my co-host, Heather. Howdy, Heather.
Hey, Jason.
So, Heather, how are you doing?
I am a little nervous, but I'm doing very good. I did 16-man story modes this week in my guild, and then tonight and tomorrow we should be doing our hard mode ops. So, yay!
Which one?
I did.
US.
We did both.
Both.
Well, for the story modes we did both, the Ravagers and Temple of Sacrifice. So, yay, 16 mans, and we did it all in guild. So I'm glad we're thriving. And today we're probably going to be focusing on the Ravagers. We're stuck on Torque,
Awesome.
which is a nightmare for me as a melee. But it's all Force Shroud, just the whole time.
Yeah, I was reading up your thing about the Bulu fight that you wrote up on how to, as a melee, how to survive.
Yeah. So I hope that helped a few people with that, just because I hear so many people saying, oh, well, you can't be range or you can't be melee to do these some parts of the content.
You're just out there to prove everybody that you can, so that's awesome. No, my nephews, of course the nephews, they were off this week. All my nieces and nephews were off this week for spring break, so we got a little gaming in early in the week. Actually in Sunday or Monday. So me and the older nephew, we were messing around and we were just going on, and he was trying to get an op together with his guild, and that kind of fell through. So I was like, Al, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's go do Karagas. And so he's like, what? Just does? And so we just opened it up, went in with two of us and run a story mode. You don't get any cash for doing it. You get some junky loot, but just the idea that we went through and just messed with it and said we could. So as level 60s, going through the 50 bosses and stuff like that. So
Yeah, those are definitely fun to run through every once in a while. Sometimes they pop up in Conquest and just go do it.
It was fun. I mean, we got to do the puzzle. Now it took a little longer because I was the one running back and forth, since you don't have multiple people at each post. So it was like, so
I used to know that puzzle so well, and now I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
I got to the
I don't
point
know how to
where
do it.
I never was up at the top, so I never did it. And so I'm up there top going, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah, no big problem. You just got to move the pyramid back and forth. It's the old puzzle thing. But it was pretty cool. So that was fun. And then we did a hard mode Legacy of the Ricotta, and that was pretty fun. That was fun. Did the bonus boss. The first time I hadn't done that one. I hadn't done the bonus boss on that one, but that was pretty cool. Had a great heals on that one. That was pretty much what I've done. I did get into a little bit with the double XP that's going on this weekend. We'll mess with that. That's pretty much what I've been doing in game.
Well, we have one more person on the show with us today that we're gonna.
Oh, that's right, we do.
We're gonna
Totally
briefly
forgot.
introduce him, and we're gonna get into some news, and then we'll start talking hardcore to him. Some really, really exciting questions.
I'm scared when you describe it that way.
So today on the show we have SWTOR community manager Eric Musco.
How's it going, everybody?
Welcome, Eric. How are you
Jason,
doing?
did you get Karaga's hat? I was trying not to ask because you hadn't introduced me yet. Did you get the hat?
I didn't get it this time.
Oh my god,
I've had it before, and it's awesome. I
Yeah.
can't wait to put it on my character as an appearance.
I love that hat. So
I've had opportunities to get the hat, but I'm just like, it doesn't look good on my character, so it would be a waste for me to take it when someone that will actually use it.
I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of amazing because it looks terrible on everybody. I feel like that's the charm of it, right?
Yeah. The best part about it? You cannot change the dye on it.
Oh, really?
No, you can't. It will not die. It's like,
That's
nope,
funny.
I am purple. You're going to have to wear the purple hat.
That's great.
No, I got some banners and the speeder drop, but other than that, no, I didn't get no hat, so I was kind of bummed about that. I thought my nephew would like to have the hat. I've already got it on my sniper, so that's pretty cool. So how's your week been, Eric?
It's been good. Obviously, this week we introduced to the world our newest community team member. So it's been going through things with Nick, getting him up to speed and trained and everything. So it's been a large portion of my week.
I bet. How is the new member coming along?
It's great. Obviously we were all really, really excited when Courtney got the opportunity to go over to the writing team. Obviously, anybody who's read the stuff that she's written and put on the website with the story blogs, she's got some really, really awesome writing chops. So it was cool that she got to move over to the other team. So once she did that, it was really just us looking to try to get a new head on the team and get someone else filled in so we could distribute things amongst 3 people instead of 2.
Cool. Well, maybe we should get into some of our other news, and then we can talk a little bit more about...
We'll be talking more to
Sounds
Eric in
good.
just a second, so let's get on to the news.
From the Newsnet and beyond.
Oh, yes, we did get a little bit of news this week. Just a little bit. Last week, they had a stream, the return of the community stream, and they announced that Update 3.2 is on the PTS. That's right, coming late this spring. Rise of the Emperor. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I downloaded the PTS, but I haven't done any of the story content. I know it's kind of bad. I do it. I wanted to do it in live because most of the time I've noticed that I do all of the story in the PTS, and then by the time it comes out on live, I'm just like, oh, I'm over it. Sorry, Eric.
Oh no offense taken. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I decided to wait this time. I did log in to try out the outfit designer, which, at first I thought it was pretty cool. I have all these different outfits in my bags, and it'll take up less space to just have them on my character, especially if I'm going to a different planet, like I stop by at Ilum or I'm on Tatooine. I can change outfits so that just kind of RP a little bit. Wear the Hailstorm Brotherhood outfit on Ilum because it's the snow outfit, and some other scantily clad outfit on Tatooine. But then that was it. I kind of wish that there was a little bit more functionality in there, so I didn't have to hold like my PvP gear in my bag, or say, God forbid I was a tank, I would have tank gear. I laugh because I'm not a tank at all, but say I was. I'd like to have that extra set of gear that I could switch to without holding it in my bag. So, but otherwise, I still like the outfit designer, but hopefully we'll see some extra functionality in the future for that.
Yeah, I know Tate had made some posts around some of that stuff on the PTS forum that we talked to those guys a lot when outfit designer was going to be coming out. And for one, like you guys, I love the system because I'm hilariously obsessed with how my character looks. So I was excited when I was able to do that without moving mods around and doing that type of stuff. But certainly we raised concerns about multiple gear sets and companions and stuff. And like Tate alluded to, that stuff is like building whole other systems, which isn't necessarily to say we won't ever do them, but just at least not for 3.2. But it's definitely stuff we'd love to do because certainly that functionality is fantastic.
Yeah, I got to test it out a little bit, and one of the things that I really liked was the fact, and I put it up there, one of the outfits that I put on one of the appearance tab is actually a green piece that you cannot mod. And so I was able to put it on over the top of one of my sets.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So like all these like sets that are unmoddable that I've had on my bag or haven't had in my bag, that should either increase maybe the prices on the GTN for those things, like for synth weaving and armor mech, or just things that you pick up along the way in the game that aren't orange. You could just hold on to them if you like how they look. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. That's really cool.
It almost makes everything adaptive, sort of.
Yeah, because there was some awesome piece of armor that looked really cool, but it's like it never was adapted. You couldn't mod it out or anything, so I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yep.
And then last night I thought of something for your Hutball team, you've got an armor mech or synth weaver, make up a quick little thing. Here, everybody get a jersey.
Oh my god! And then you could just change when you're
Yep.
when you're doing
That's
the game.
theme them as frog dogs or rotworms. Theme them based on the colors of them. It's like home or away team.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how was it Legacy Gear or something was meant to be when you guys first had those videos with the whole like your whole ops team wearing the same thing.
Right.
I think this is more of a practical way to do it instead of everyone pulling out their mods and putting it into this one year just to all look the same. And now they can just switch over to this outfit.
Yeah. Yeah, which is funny, right? Because ultimately, Legacy Gear just turned into the gear you use to move mods around characters, as opposed to the appearances.
Well, now see, you can actually take your Legacy Gear, stamp it on appearances for your characters, so they can all look the same.
Sure.
But yeah, instead of moving mods, you can move appearances around. So. But no, I think it's really cool, and I know that it's probably going to be, even when it comes out, there's probably going to be other updates to it in the future. So I kind of think that it is going in the right direction. So so now I'm going to go back. There was some stuff because I went a little bit into the story stuff, and I really am excited about it. I mean, from the stuff that's going on, the new planet, Zyast, and stuff like that. So it's, am I pronouncing that right, Eric?
It's Zyast.
Zyast. So I'm excited about being on that planet. I like the fact that it's not the light and day cycles. Now, there's not a light and day cycle, but in the different areas you go, it appears a lot different in each place. And
oh, kind of like Belsavis almost, where it's like you go to Section X and it's nighttime. Oh yeah, technically, I guess that's not real. I mean, it's Belsavis, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I saw Zyast was in some internal testing and stuff, and I walked over to our environment artist and I was like, you guys really stepped it up on Zyast because it looks ridiculous. It looks so good. Like, I really think it's one of the best looking planets that we've made so far.
I think it's really cool. Now, there was a couple other things I noticed when I'm going around on the PTS, and I just want to get you, and I'm going to throw this out there. So if you can't answer it, I understand. But there were some things I noticed in there, and I don't know if it was because it's on the PTS or if it was just because of that they are making the changes. But I noticed some changes to the group finder. That actually 8-man looks like it's back for the ops, and some changes on the tactical and weekly, and some of the search for the allies weekly and different things like that. That definitely some changes,
that's interesting. Ultimate comms,
or just something for the PTS.
That's a good question. I actually don't know. It's not something that I'm not answering. I'm just not positive of which way it was. What I can say is, if it hasn't been patch noted, as in it wasn't something that Tate caught and noted, that could mean that it's just intended on PTS. But I'm gonna check with Tate. Remind me if I don't to get something out tomorrow to find out the exact answer to that, because
awesome.
I'm actually not sure. Yeah. That either means that it was an oversight and it was a change that we just didn't note, which means the dev team just had made the change but hadn't passed it on, or it could just be something in error that's just floating up there. So yeah. I'll find out one way or the other.
Yeah, because it was I even noticed, and I just threw it up there, that even in some of the 60, they're putting up some of the older ops too, which I kind of think would be kind of cool if there's a way that we can do those ops as a 60, queue up for those, especially with some of the new members in our guilds and stuff like that. But that'd be awesome if we find out that. So thanks a lot, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, bug me tomorrow, and I'll make sure to get the answer to that for you.
Will do.
I'm waiting for like explosive conflict level 65 or something.
Do we really want to see explosive content bulked up to level 60? I mean, good grief, that was
Kefis. That's just more Kefis, right? Can never get enough.
Now if we're bringing Kefis back into it, okay, I got that. Let's see. So we also wanted to, since we had Eric here, if people hadn't known about it, we're going to talk about the upcoming Community Cantina and the special thing that's going on there with the exclusive speeder. There it is.
So excited for Celebration.
Yeah, I should be going. I have plans on going to the Swilter Cantina in Anaheim, so I should be getting that exclusive mount, and I will be able to share it with others. But let's explain how others can get that mount without having to go and spend lots and lots of money on going to cantinas all the time, like me.
That's right.
That's yeah, big savings leak.
Do you guys want to explain it? I want to make sure that I actually explained it correctly the first time, so that you make sure you guys know how it works. We'll see if I messed it up on the stream.
So as far as I know, we get the attendees that go to the cantinas will get a code, and then we can share it with was it 3 or 5 people?
I think it's 5. So
so we can share it with other people
to get a link, and I'm gonna go, and then when I go and get mine, I believe I get 5 things that I can share and pass that along to other people. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the flow, as I understand it, and I will double check all this stuff before we get to Celebration, and I'll re-explain it at Celebration when I actually have it in my hand. Is that you'll get a code for the vehicle like you always did before, and then when you redeem that code, you're going to have a shareable link that you'll get, which you just post that link, and up to 5 people can click that link to get their own vehicle. When they do that, they will then get their own link, which they can share, and that goes ad nauseum till they don't feel like sharing anymore.
That is awesome.
So the idea, right, was because we certainly heard, from people that either we go to similar areas every year because we typically tend to do cantinas around big conventions. And so we hear from a lot of people who aren't in those areas, and I totally empathize because I grew up in Pennsylvania, and this was before Comic-Con was a big thing, and PAX East didn't exist, so there was nothing to go gaming-wise near us. So I understand the idea that people don't necessarily have the ability to travel, or there just may not be an event near them. So this gives an opportunity for anyone. My hope is that if you like Star Wars: The Old Republic and you want one of these mounts, you can get it. Like, I feel like it would almost be impossible for you to not be able to find one of these if you want it.
And real quick housekeeping, Jason, I don't know if you got my message, but they would really like you to turn up your microphone.
Oh, will do. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, thank you. Sorry, chat room. Doing better.
Yeah, so one thing I have been getting a lot of people asking about is you're always at PAX sites. I mean, except for PAX East, but I guess that's another story. But people are asking about PAX Australia, and I'm just like, well, I'm pretty sure they're planning on going to New York Comic Con that same month. So, I mean, any dreams or plans of going to Australia? Is that even?
Oh, I have tons of dreams of going to Australia. I would be silly if I didn't have dreams of going there. I think, it really comes down to timing of when it is, because obviously it butts up against, especially when you get into the September, August, October area. Did those months in the wrong order, but you follow what I'm saying. Like, those 3 months, there are so many conventions that happen in that time frame, and obviously, as anyone would know, going to Australia would be a tremendous cost from North America compared to a normal cantina that we would do if it was within the States or even within Europe. So that certainly weighs into it as well. I would love to go there, though. I bring it up every time we're looking at the cantina schedule. I'm always like, hey guys, PAX Australia's out there.
Just saying.
All right, so Aussies, he's trying.
I try every time. Yeah, come on, guys. Anyone who's in Australia, I would love to come to your country. So, I try.
So,
all right, so exclusive mounts.
Exclusive mounts, we can get them. You don't have to go to the cantina, but the cantinas are amazing. So if you can go to the community cantinas, get there. I highly recommend them.
And our one at Celebration is going to be just, I mean, I don't know if you guys have looked at the RSVPs. We're already looking at over 500 people that are going to be attending. We're doing a whole bunch more stuff than we typically do at streams. We're going to have green screens with the 501st where you can get your photo taken. We're going to have a live stream. We're going to be doing a special presentation. We're going to have some special guests. Like, it's going to be craziness.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm super excited. And it's Celebration. Come on, it's Celebration. Who doesn't want to go?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was joking with stickers on last time. I was like, yeah, I'd be going to the community canteen, but that Star Wars Celebration is right there. I'll be like, yeah, which one do I go to?
We're after the floor closes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
I didn't want to have to deal with that myself.
There
right?
you go.
Because I'd be like, man, I need to either work or stay in Celebration.
Yeah, speaking of Snicker though, that was fantastic that you guys had him on the Social stream, or at least, um, having him stream on there.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, I mean, it's been a goal for a long time, right? We want to give as much support as we can to fan sites and streamers. And I mean, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past, right? Like with the fan site agreement, there's some restrictions that we have around when we can and cannot promote fan sites, but we're working on a lot of that stuff. We definitely want to highlight as many streamers as we can in any way that we can. Obviously, we were able to do some cool stuff with Snicker, even for like, Snave was running his PvP tournament, so we worked with him to get some stuff on PTS so that he could run the tournament there. We're trying to do as much stuff as we possibly can to give you guys support. I know it's not as much as people would like, and that's unfortunate, but we're working on it. We're working hard on trying to get there.
Yeah, I was watching that the thing with Snickers on his podcast. There was like over 3,100 people viewing it at one point, and it made the front page on Twitch. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. That, and then watching them go 10 for 10 on hard mode bosses, like what?
Yeah, I couldn't help but reiterate in chat that he points out how bad I am at the game I work on.
All right, well, maybe we should get into the interview.
I think we're going to head and move on into the community bug. So for everybody that does not know, Eric Musco is here today on our podcast, and we're going to get in a little bit and learn a little bit more about our community team manager.
All right, so what exactly do you do? How long have you been doing it? Because I know there's quite a few people that just play the game. They don't really pay attention to community. And then there's also some people that are very familiar with you. So just tell us what you do so that people can be clear when they're trying to ask you questions.
Sure. So the first part is how long I've been doing it. So I've been on the community team since August, right before launch. So August 2011, I think that makes that. So I've been around going on 4 years, I guess. And within that, I've been community manager for, I think, 2.5 years, 2 years. It's sad that I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. I've been on the community team a long time, but I think I've been community manager for about, by the way, that picture of me is fantastic, for about 2 years. 2.5 years or so.
I have worse pictures.
Oh, I know. Yeah, right. There's so many worse ones. The funny thing is that picture. So if you would pan it like a little bit to the left, we have like a sliding presentation that sits on a PC monitor that talks about some of the stuff that's going on. And one of the things that sits there is the upcoming Cantina schedule, so that anyone within the studio knows when we're doing Cantinas. And there's pictures of me, and all the pictures. My old boss and Courtney just kept grabbing pictures of me drinking, and so each picture is just a picture of me drinking. Which is funny because if you go to a cantina, I don't drink when I'm at a cantina. Whatever. Anyway, so my actual job it's always really tricky for me to explain that. I think the best way to explain what I do is basically twofold. On one hand, I kind of act as the direct bridge between the studio and the players. So anything that the players would address, so concerns with the players, player feedback, anything like that you guys deliver, I turn around and deliver that out to the developers, passing on feedback and addressing concerns on that side. Flip that around. Anything that happens on the development side that will affect players, I'm also the person who handles that. So that could include messaging it to the players, which that goes well beyond just forum posts. That also means I have my hands in how we message marketing, promotions, and PR and that type of stuff. And then, of course, the actual direct communication, which most people associate my job with, right, which is forum posting and doing that type of stuff. So I kind of act as the bridge between those two things.
Awesome. So now, what is a day in the life of Eric Musco?
Man. So what do I fill my 40, 50 hours a week with? So it's a couple different things. For one, first and foremost, I think the thing that I forget that how much of my time it takes up is I have the word manager in my title because I do manage a team. So all the stuff that goes into managing a team, I'll oversee anything that communications that Tate puts out, Courtney from the past, and now Nick. Anything that comes from those guys, patch noting and that type of stuff, I review and have some oversight on. Although honestly, those guys are awesome, so I don't really worry about too much about those guys. They get their stuff done. I do all of our event planning. currently. So all of our event planning and web content, those are all handled by me. All of our messaging, all those things pretty much fall under my jurisdiction. You'd actually be surprised how time consuming some of that stuff is sometimes. And like I said, acting as the bridge between the players and developers, I also sit in a lot of meetings where basically my idea is to make sure that your voice is at the table, so that those things kind of go into it. Funny enough, I think meetings take up majority of my time. I think that's probably what fills majority of my week.
Do you check your Twitter during those meetings? Do you see everyone's crazy tweets?
Absolutely. If I didn't have the ability to check not only like social media but like my work email while I was in meetings, I don't think I would accomplish most things. Just because those, I joked with Nick when he started that. In fact, he started on Monday. I had all day meetings Tuesday and Wednesday. Like I literally saw him for like 4 hours the whole week because I was in meetings so much away from my desk doing stuff.
So, okay, let's get down to it. What is the least favorite thing that you have to do, Eric?
Oh man, that's tricky. The least favorite thing I have to do. I think the least favorite thing I'd probably have to do, and I think this would probably surprise people, because I think it's when I have to deliver news to the players that I know going in is going to be something that they're going to be unhappy or upset about. I think that's probably what will be the trickiest, and I think it's unfortunate sometimes because part of my role is to help players understand why that decision was made, and that stuff can be really challenging to have someone change their perspective from kind of like the player side of it to development / business side of it. So I think that's probably the hardest thing to do, but not because like a lot of times, like especially at cantinas and stuff, when you talk to people, they say that they don't know how I could do my job, right? Because certainly lots of vitriol is thrown at me on a lot of occasions. None of that stuff honestly really doesn't bother me. Like I look at that very much like it's my job, right? Like if I'm under the bus, that means that someone else isn't. So it's kind of my job to get thrown under the bus. And let me to be clear, I typically throw myself there in situations where that needs to happen. But it's more just that I know players are going to be frustrated with some stuff, and I want to do the best I can to make sure that they're not. And sometimes that's just kind of unavoidable.
Unfortunately, sometimes there is bad news.
That's always it's gonna be the case all the time, right? And so it's a matter of trying to figure out the best way to deliver that news.
Yeah, and the problem that I see a lot of times is people think that like you're the decision maker, like it's your fault that something has happened, and what you have just said is that you are just listening to our opinions and relaying them to the developers, but that doesn't mean that you are part of doing that or designing things. And if they say, well, we want to design it this way, we can't do it this way that the players want. I mean, I don't know. So I feel like that would be frustrating for me if I was a community manager.
The thing that's interesting about that is I have a luxury that players don't, and this is the really hard thing for me to kind of translate, is that on the flip side, right, when those decisions happen, because you're right, ultimately, right, like when there's a decision being made, what I ultimately do is I represent what the players would say. Like I can tell you systematically, there's rarely a decision that we make that is a surprise how people react to it. Like assuming that I'm doing at least okay at my job, I make sure to keep them informed on like, hey, when we make this decision, this is what's going to happen player wise. This is how they're going to feel about this. So it's not that we don't necessarily know, but the luxury that I get is that I get to sit in that room with the developers and whoever else is making that decision and listen to their side of it and listen to why they're making those decisions. And I think also because I work at the company, it's probably a little easier for me to think about it with less I don't want to say emotional investment because that sounds like the wrong way to describe it, but like look, like I'm a player myself, right? We get really invested in our characters and stuff like that. People hate to see when things impact them. So,
do a lot of the people that work there at BioWare Austin, or a lot of the designers and developers, because I have met quite a few people that have worked there, but how much would you say that they play the game? Because I've met quite a few people that do play the game, but there's doubts in the community where
It depends. It depends on the person, right? Like I think it's one of the things that always kind of amuses me when you look at when you look at a developer playing a game, right? Like I think most people assume that someone who's a developer is going to be like MLG pro at a game, and that's not true. That's simply just not. That's not quite how that is, right? Like you think of like a sport. Someone who's a coach isn't necessarily a good player. They can see it from a different space, So I think our studio is just like our actual player base, right? You have people who are really casual, who play, 1 or 2 nights a week, and they might even still be working on their first character or their second character, all the way to people who have 16 level 60s and they do ops on multiple characters 5 times. Like we have the full range of players across the board. People who've gotten, gotten tier 1 in ranked arenas repeatedly in multiple seasons. Like we have people all across the full spectrum.
Well,
but I can tell you that they definitely do play quite a lot.
Well, that's kind of good that you have, though, a wide range of different type of players on your development staff, because then you would have, if you had like all tier 1 players, then that would be kind of a little disconcerting for some of us that are not level. So.
Sure.
So I guess we kind of skipped this, but what would you say is your favorite thing as a community manager?
Undoubtedly, my favorite thing as community manager is talking to people in person. Talking to people at cantinas, especially. Anyone who looks only at something like the forums as a snapshot of what honestly at any forum of what any community looks like is doing themselves a disservice. And don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with forum communities. I love our forum community. What you find on forum communities is the most engaged people. Like, it's kind of like what I said before, where I'm not really bothered when people tell me they hate me or any of those things, because all that comes from.
Don't look at the chat room.
Oh, it's fine. All of it comes from a matter of that, like, they love our game. The only reason that they're saying things that they say is because at the end of the day, they have an immense passion for our game, and they just wanted to see it be the best thing that they can be, and they just have frustrations with something. So I don't mind that at all. So when you're at a cantina, it takes some of the anonymity of the internet out of the equation, and don't get me wrong, there's been people at cantinas who have had very frank and very blunt conversations about things that have frustrated them, but it's just very different when it's in person. You can see body language, and there's a human being standing in front of you, and there's just so much excitement about everything when you're there, and that's why I love those events. I think they're really, really fun.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with meeting the developers and you and the other community team members in person at the cantinas, because it really humanizes you guys, and it's not just like, okay, well, there's this person with the letters Eric Musco talking to me in the forums. It's not that. I know there's an actual human that I've met that is talking to us about this.
And it has to change your perspective as well, right? When you can actually attach people that you've met and talked to and shaken their hands, and you can attach that to the people that are making the product. And the other thing is really, like, I think sometimes it really gets undersold. Like, the people that work in our studio have such an amazing passion for what they do for this game. I get that sometimes decisions may be made that people aren't the biggest fan of, but I promise you, no one's working at BioWare Austin that doesn't love BioWare and love Star Wars: The Old Republic to the core. It's why they're there. It's so hard to get a job in the game industry. I know it's one of your questions later. Like, you really have to want it to get in. And these people do. They have a huge passion for it.
All right, speaking of getting in, so we have a new community team member named Nick Avola that we're really excited about. So could you tell us just a little bit about him?
Yeah, so Nick is really cool. I think he talked a little bit about his background, where he was like an intelligence analyst. He's obviously has some work, in government. He's really, really great communication skills. He's a really organized guy. What we were bringing him in for, he talked a little bit about it, is primarily to help us with project management on our side. We have a surprising amount of things that we're juggling at one time, and really want to help make sure that we stay organized and on track, which largely was what Courtney helped with as well back when she was on the team. And then reporting. We obviously want to get as much of the information you guys are giving us, as much of that feedback as we can, back to the development team so that they have as much information as possible when they're making decisions. And Nick's going to help us with that. That's actually what I'm really excited for Nick for, because I think it's one of the things that we've always gotten feedback from you guys to the team, but I don't necessarily think we've always gotten it as formalized as we could have gotten. And I'm a person who likes procedure myself, so this allows us to kind of build a procedure behind some of that stuff. I will say, though, I have to call out, especially that I'm on this, that you guys saw in his welcome post that he said that he loved Chrono Cross and Final Fantasy VIII, and that pained me on an emotional level when I saw it. Like, I read it, and I was like, you meant Chrono Trigger, right? And he's like, I don't know what that is. I was like, oh, God, Nick, I don't know how this happened.
I'm sorry, Nick. You're no longer going to be a...
I'm positive I made that joke, but yeah. Yep.
So
I also see that he's come in saying that he is a PvP player. Is he bringing some stuff to the table there? Is that something that he's working towards doing a little bit of good for?
I think that really was just him setting context on what type of actual player he is. Because the funny thing is, Tate and I both are PvP players traditionally as well. So I wouldn't want to read too much into that he's going to be bringing big things to the PvP community. But the nice thing is that as a PvPer himself, that really gives him really great context when he's helping to get feedback and get reporting back to those teams. So that definitely does give him a lot better ground to stand on when making those reports and helping us with that side.
So, any more plans for any more expansion on the community team, or is it pretty much set with the quote 3 amigos right now?
I think for right now, and I'm gonna share a term with you that I've heard internally that you guys will enjoy. I think for now it's the 3 musketeers.
3 musketeers.
Musketeers!
Nice. Someone coined that, and I should not have shared that, but I have. So I think for now it'll just be the 3 of us.
Let's go. The
All right, so another thing about adding someone to your team, I hear people ask you this question all the time at community cantinas, and I've heard your answer a couple times.
Sure.
I'm sure our listeners would be curious to know, how do they get a job with BioWare or in the gaming industry? Sure.
I think that this is probably the number one question that we always get asked, right? Which is how do you get in? The first thing and the biggest piece of advice that I can give anybody who wants to work in the game industry is figure out what you want to do in the gaming industry, like what it is that your real passion is, and then just do it. Don't wait to get a job to do it. Like if you want to be, I'll give you an example. I can tell you the path. For those that don't know, my path on getting into the game industry is I ran a fan site. And so I always wanted to be in community. I always wanted to be a community manager. And so what I did, and now to be fair, I did this completely on accident, and I didn't know that I was doing the right thing at the time, but I was building a community. You know, me and Sam back in the day, you guys have a fan site. Like running a fan site is all about building and running a community, keeping people engaged, which is basically the job of a community manager in some parts. So I was kind of accidentally getting the experience that I should have. But if, let's say you want to be a writer in the gaming industry, write a game, write some quests, go find someone else online maybe who is interested in art, or someone who's interested in programming, and maybe build yourself a little module, or go download any one of the game engines that exist and try to build it yourself. A lot of people, I think, know what they want to do, like they want to be a game designer or something, but then they kind of just keep applying for game design jobs even though they're not designing anything. So the best advice that I can give is to, whatever you want to do, don't wait for a job to get you to do it. Just do it. Do it as a hobby. Do it because you want to do it. Because the thing that we see on our side is that stuff goes a really long way. If we see someone is doing something so much to the point that it's a passion for them, that they're doing it even in their free time, it really, really stands out. And speaking of standing out, the other thing that I would say is that don't ever give up if you apply. When you apply for a job in the game industry, you could be competing against hundreds, if not thousands of people who are applying for the same job as you. If you get an interview, awesome. Even if you don't get the job, don't be discouraged. Take it as a positive thing that you managed to get that far, and just keep applying. I will give you an example. I applied for 7 jobs at BioWare before I got hired. And amusingly enough, I got hired for a job that I didn't even apply for. So don't ever let it dishearten you when you see, or when you fall into a situation where you're not getting the job. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to hire you, just that we want to hire the exact right person in the exact right space. So keep trying. It's my long-winded answer on how to get in. But I know it's something that a lot of people really want to get into the game industry. And I can tell you, like, honestly, I've worked in corporate marketing and design before I came into BioWare, and the game industry is way more fun than not working in the game industry. But it's tricky. It'll burn you. It's a lot of hours. You really got to be passionate about it. And typically, we won't hire someone. I mean, it's kind of what I talked about before, where our developers are really, they're really passionate about what they do, and it's because, it's not the easiest job on earth. So you got to really want to do it.
So you just said it's not that easy of a job, but if there is one thing or several things that you could tell to the Switcher community to help them understand why things go wrong or don't get fixed, or people don't feel like they're getting listened to, what would you say? Especially since we have this chat room here, you can speak directly to them.
So I think that the first thing that I would say is an understanding of what my job role entails, what my team's job role is. Specifically that I think a lot of people, especially when you look at like the forums or something, and there'll be a thread, and pretty much everybody in the thread agrees with something, agrees that this thing should be this thing or this change should be made. And there's nothing to say that my team disagrees with you, or even that the development team disagrees with you. The thing to understand is that what we do is we pass that feedback on to our developers. We make sure that they have that information. But the thing is that player feedback is an important part of the decision-making process, but it is a part of the decision-making process, and that there are many things that go into what will ultimately make a decision. So, for example, I know class changes are always a really contentious thing. I have zero control over what class might get, buff, nerf, changes to, any of that stuff. But we definitely take all that feedback and we communicate with the combat team on a very regular basis. We talk to them almost more than any other team. And so they know a lot of what's going on with player feedback. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of them balancing, what players would like to see, along with something like, what their ultimate design goals are versus what data is showing them. I can give you one of my favorite examples from long ago. Do you guys remember? Oh my God, this was an early 2 point something where we were making a change to how the side nodes worked in Alderaan, Civil War zone. Do you guys remember this?
I remember something about it, but no, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, so there used to be a lot of changes with that. You could actually take the taxis directly to the side nodes.
Oh yeah.
Right, and that the time it took to cap something was a lot different, and we realized that it was creating some friction with how that worked. So we put it on PTS for a change, and we got tons and tons of feedback about on the PTS forum about how players felt about the changes, some for it, some against it, making cases, I had played it and I just, the goals that you guys were, because I think the goal that we were trying to accomplish was to have it so that it was easier to take the side points so that there was a little bit more back and forth. And we looked, and not one single Warzone match had ever popped on PTS. Literally no one had ever played it. Which is funny, right? When you look about it, because there was pages and pages of opinion to this stuff. And again, let me be clear, that doesn't invalidate any of those opinions, because certainly one of my favorite expressions is perception is reality. And so how people will perceive that a change is going to take place, or how they feel about a change, is still really important. But it was just interesting where no one had actually played it, but a lot of people certainly had a lot of opinions on it. In fact, even quoting in fact that they had played it. So that was always just very interesting to see. So I think one of the things that I would always keep in mind is that, we definitely will always continue to give you guys this feedback beyond it, but we're ultimately not, and I'm not trying to pass the buck here, but we're not decision makers. We just help inform decisions. And again, we're a part of it, not to minimize anything that player feedback does.
Kind of they go between the developers and the community itself.
Correct.
So, is there anything you can tell us that we can look forward to in the future? I mean, I know you're obviously not going to be dropping something like, maybe you will.
Yeah, if you want
do
to,
we have
go
anything? Do we have anything coming up? Anything for group ranked PvP that you wanted to comment on, or GSF, or better than cross server. One of my Swilter Facebook groups, they said, oh, well, you should wear a white t-shirt and in Sharpie marker, write better than cross server on it. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. But we're not on video.
Does that mean you're better than cross server?
No.
The shirt says?
that just write better than cross server so that
Yeah,
you show up on the video, but then we don't do video anyway. So, but okay, but like I'm saying, is there anything that you can tell us about better than cross server, group rank PvP, GSF, things that people keep asking you guys about that we have not been hearing anything about? Is there anything you can tell us? If not, well, just go ahead.
Sure. So the elusive better than cross server is, I will say, it will always amuse. I shouldn't say it was amuse me. Better than crossover as a terminology for what we had talked about is always interesting, right? Because that was said in a one-on-one conversation with someone at a cantina, and that's been the phrase that everyone has jumped onto. Because I think I had a conversation with Snave about it when I did it on a stream. I think better than crossover is a really dangerous way for us to coin what we're working on. And let me answer that and just say, we're still working on it, and I don't have any updates right now. But better than cross server is really scary, right? Because that sets something that's extremely subjective. What is better than cross server? We can certainly say what we may we may think is something that could be better than cross server. Here's how I will frame it. That is how we've always framed it. Is we know that there are issues that exist with queuing and people getting access to content, and we're working on ways of fixing that problem. I won't say the words that we're working on is better than cross server, only because it's completely subjective, right? What I think is better, you might not think. So I just don't want it's always interesting that that's the way that it's framed, and I think that's very scary as a thing. And I think that ultimately it's a way that people will set themselves up for disappointment because it's so general that they'll think whatever the solution may be, and so they could get trapped. But I don't have any updates beyond that. We're still working on it, and we want to try to improve queuing, and that. I don't have any other updates on that right now. As for content, specifically GSF and group ranked, is that your other question? Was group ranked?
Yes, group ranked PvP, because we know the numbers are pretty low for that versus solo queue, which people like to coin as YOLO queue, just because it's so much based on luck, and group ranked is. That should be more important than going in and having someone throw a team on solo queue. So what can you say about group ranked?
So group ranked is interesting. Both of the ranked queues, I know that our PvP guys, they look at that stuff very, very frequently, looking at stuff like class balance and queue times and all that stuff. And they're always working on things that they can try to improve that and implement it outside of something, right, like a better queuing solution. I think in the short term, the answer is just making sure to get rewards in a really good place, make sure to incentivize people to do ranked play. I think is probably where that's going to go. I don't really know that I have a better answer than that, at least in the short term. And I can say also that we have taken, I hope people have felt this and seen it, we have taken going after people who are win trading and people who are griefing. We've really gone after it with a vengeance. And I know that it's never going to be perfect and there'll always be people doing it. But really, like, as someone who's been involved with a lot of that stuff, as you guys have situations where people are doing those things, make sure to report them both in game and out of game, and let us know. And we're going to continue to monitor that stuff and do everything we can to get that stuff cleaned up, because I think that definitely had a negative impact, or has a negative impact, on the ranked community, and we want to get that stuff cleaned up. We don't want cheaters around, and I don't think you guys do either.
No. Anything you guys are doing like that, and definitely making it more of a transparent thing on the forums and stuff like that is awesome. Yeah,
that was a really big change we made. We've made, I want to say this year, but I guess it was the end of last year into this. Actually, I guess it was mainly this year, is talking a lot more openly about things that we're doing on the terms of service side, at least as much as we can. Because I know, again, going back to perception is reality, people really felt like we weren't doing anything against people who had cheated in really any capacity. And that's not true. And I know that part of the reason that perception exists is because we simply never talk about it. We always had it in a vacuum of silence. So we're trying to be a lot more communicative about what we're doing and when we're doing things, so people can see that we're taking action.
I think that's a great way to be. So, you have my endorsement on the transparency, so that's great.
Yeah, I try to be as open about as many things as we can, at least within reason. And again, there's always ways that we can improve it, right? I know that certainly many people feel like we can communicate more and about more things, and that will always be true. So definitely continue to work on it.
Awesome. So, I think. Let's see, one more
Can
here.
you tell us what your current team is working on right now? We know you have the big update, Rise of the Emperor, but is there anything in particular that you can just tease? I mean, are there PvP maps being worked on, operations, flashpoints?
You're talking about the design team.
Yes.
So what I can say is going to be a terrible reiteration of what we've already said, which is that obviously there's 3.2, and then there is more this year, and then there is some really cool, bigger stuff later this year. Basically, I'm just reiterating exactly what Bruce said in the producer letter, but it still remains true. And I know that we're going to start talking about all of that stuff, and I'm going to use the dangerous word, and I'm going to say soon, but. It is as true as it can be. I won't even put a TM after it.
Okay, while I have you on here with us, I just wanted to say, you can say that there's a new operation coming without telling us any spoilers about the story. You can say that there's 2 flashpoints, an operation, and a PvP map without saying that there's an or what the name of
It'll
the
just be our little secret.
expansion is.
I do know that, right? There's always that thing of that I can say what the content is without giving specifics on that content. But at least for now, I don't have anything else that I can say.
Okay. So
on a lighter note, so what hobbies away from video games do you have that you would like to tell us about?
That's a really hard question, because I feel like my hobby is playing video games. So what do I do outside of video games?
Well, what other video games do you play then?
oh yeah.
Besides Tor, play Heroes of the Storm. I'm playing a lot of that lately. That's fun. I've actually, God, I love double XP weekends. I know I just said besides Tor, but God, anytime that we increase the amount of XP that you get, I just play way too many hours of Tor, because I feel like I always just have more things to level, even though I don't. But I need more of it. I just need more of it. But anyway, just Heroes of the Storm, and I would say outside of gaming. Movies, I'm a big Netflix junkie. So,
What's the last movie that you really liked that you got to see?
oh my God, Boyhood. Even though I know that I actually saw that in theaters months ago, but it still just sticks in my head. If you have not seen Boyhood, I would do that. I would go watch that movie immediately. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I haven't seen that one yet. I have to
Yeah,
check that out.
that's the movie that they shot over 12 years.
Oh yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
It was also shot in Austin, which is why, like, around Austin, if you've never been to Austin, around here they have something called the Alamo Drafthouse, which is the best type of movie theaters ever. So if you're ever in Austin, I highly recommend that you go to one. But anyway, so it was an Austin exclusive. So it stayed as actually kind of an indie film for a little while. So they were showing it here locally, which is when I saw it, and then everyone realized how great it was, and it kind of caught fire. And
sorry to interrupt, but we have a question from the chat room that I'd like to bring up.
Yeah.
So someone asked, they asked if you play Star Wars: The Old Republic, but what class do you play?
So
what class and what spec?
Yeah. So my main since Rise, listen to me, since Revan came out, has been Arsenal Merc all the way. I've always, anytime I've played MMOs, there's one type of class that I have always strayed toward, which is ranged, high mobility burst damage. So if you're familiar with MMOs, you could think of like a hunter in WoW. Any type of class that just never has to stand still and can have on-demand burst. So Arsenal Merc, as soon as we made the changes where you could cast Unload on the move, I was in hook, line, and sinker. So I've been playing a lot of Arsenal. Although actually, as of what I've been leveling this weekend is I've been playing a lot on my operative again. I actually got a bunch of crap on Snicker Stream because I said Arsenal and everyone knew I play operative for a long time. So I've gone back and been playing my operative again. Really what it comes down to is that I love Arsenal for gameplay, but I will always love Agent for story. Nothing will ever beat the Agent story in my heart. So anytime story is involved, like Zyos in 3.2, I will play my Agent first and foremost because it's so good.
I have to agree with you. The Agent story is by far the best.
It's so good.
So
Right.
now I guess we got a little something else, and it may not be the hard hitting things we got a little bit of little thing we were going to call a little rapid shot thing we're going to do here, which you didn't know anything about this.
That's all right. That's cool. I like it. I like surprises.
Okay, little quick answers. The idea behind the rapid shot is answer them just as quick as you can. They're going to be quick questions, and you're not going to be too in-depth. So, what is your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, my goodness. Boba Fett.
What is your favorite Star Wars film?
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire or Republic?
Empire.
Woo!
Oh, Sith. Which weapon? Lightsaber or blaster?
Oh, lightsaber.
Which species is your favorite in the whole Star Wars realm?
Human? I'm the worst. Human. It's
Human,
the worst.
really?
I know. I don't. Chess. It's gotta be chess.
Who shot first, Han or Greedo?
Oh, Han, come on.
Ooh, and yes, correct answer.
All right. Well, I guess that'll finish up with Eric today. If you want to contact him, you can message him on the forums, on the official SWTOR forums, or you can tweet him. He is at Musco on Twitter.
It's very hard to remember.
Yeah. Is there any final words that you would like to tell our chat room or to anyone that's listening right now?
I mean, really, I definitely want to thank you guys for having me on. I know that this was, for you guys especially, this was kind of just like a fun interview to talk about, me and what I do, and I appreciate that. And hopefully you'll have interest in doing something similar with Tate and Nick in the future, because I'm sure they'll be happy to talk all about themselves, I guess. And I know that this is what I can say. I know that our players in general have a lot of questions, especially about content. Content's really a really big question on everybody's mind, and hopefully we'll be able to get more information out to you guys sooner rather than.
Yeah, content's always one of those things people want to hear about, but unfortunately, there's some of those things you can't always communicate about.
Yeah, I mean, and the tricky thing, right, really is more of, I mean, if you think about it, just on Friday, we just talked about everything that's coming in a game update. Now I realize that did address very specific questions about content, but like I said, hopefully we'll be able to answer more about that soon.
Well,
and tune into Celebration, because Celebration is going to be amazing. I'm very excited for Celebration.
Yeah, and we're going to have, when will we hear more information about where we can check out the stream and etc. like that?
Soon, I hope. You may notice I didn't actually put it in the original announcement because I was still locking things down. Right? So we have this funny thing that happens sometimes, right? Which is where we announce things before we have them locked down, and then things always like to change when we do that. It's the real danger that we have when we announce something. So I didn't put the stream in the original announcement only because I wanted to make sure we had it locked down. So I have it locked up. We're doing a stream, but we're still working out the logistics of how we're going to get a stream set up in that room and stuff. So as soon as we have that information, I can tell you. I am pretty sure that it is going to happen in the second hour of the event. So it should happen from 8 to 9 Pacific, I believe. Right, our event's from 7 to 10, so yes, 8 to 9. That's at least what it's planned to be right now. That could change, which is why we haven't announced it. But hopefully we'll have that information soon.
All right. Well, I can't wait to check that out and find out more information out. So thank you, Eric, for stopping by. And it was great, getting to learn a little bit more about you as a community manager and what you do. So thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, thank you guys for having me on. I miss doing podcasting, so it's always fun to be back on a podcast.
Well, anytime, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Hey, well, that was great getting to talk to Eric a little bit there.
Yeah, we were going to finish up here. We have a few shout outs to the community and some content that we've spotted.
I was going through some things I came across in of course, my article with the whole net links. I came across the Going Commando, that blog. Have you ever checked that out?
Yes, I love that blog. It's one of the really good SWTOR blogs.
Yeah, and that's that Shintar writes that, and it's really good. And her latest one that I got to read, it was on the Blood Hunt and Battle of Rishi hard modes, and so that was really cool. We got to check that out. So And then, so I'll have a link for that in the show notes. If you haven't got a chance to that, she goes through and talks about how they get the bonus boss and different things like that, and some different things, some helpful hints like that. And then one other thing I came across was Bombad Radio podcast, which it is not necessarily just a SWTOR podcast. It is a radio podcast that they put on, and they do a lot with things with video games, comics, books, and stuff like that. And they are put on various radio programs themselves. They have writers, and they put together, and they add sound effects and all kinds of stuff like that. And it is really, really good. They did one on the, if you listen to or watch the Clone Wars, they had this creature called the Xylo Beast, and they end up doing this whole thing on their own about the Xylo Beast, how it returns, and there's a Xylo Beast Requiem that they're working on, and it is awesome. I mean, that stuff is great. And one thing they're also doing is they have a writing contest that is going on, and I was going to give a few details about that. It's going on now through April 21st, and you basically, it's going to be 5,000 words, roughly 10 to 20 pages, depending on your spacing. Stories could be any genre, and they're expecting, mostly all their audience will be sci-fi or Star Wars, and they kind of prefer that, but it's basically anything you want to do. Entries must be sent in a .doc or a .odt file, and it needs to be in 12-point font and in MLA fonts, New Times Roman or Arial. Entries can be emailed there at bombadradio@gmail.com, and no later than the date specified, or on the date they said, so that would be April 21st is the deadline for those entries. Stories need to include the author name, entry title, and the contact when sent to Bombad Radio. But the document itself should not have the author's name. They just want the title on that. They're basically going on the content is what will be judged, and not the author's name. So, and they also said make sure that you go with the grammar. Make sure your grammar checks out, because the public is going to help judge these. So I think that's kind of cool. So not only the judges they have, which will be, the judge one will be Neil Baker, and he's the owner and editor of April Moon Books, and then Eric Buchanan, who is the author of Magic's Trilogy. So besides that, the public will be able to get their opinions and vote on that. So definitely want to check that out. I'll have links in the show notes for all those things for Bombad Radio, and also the contest if you want to check that out. So let's see.
Oh, speaking of podcasts, before our show, we actually had Michael, who was a guest on our show from Death and Taxes. He did another one of his State of the Galaxy streams, which I thought there's a lot of viewers in there today. So great. But yeah, you'll definitely want to check him out since he did do a little shout out for us just before our show started.
I did see that here that he was going to be back with the State of the Galaxy thing, so that is awesome.
Yeah, it was interesting because we got that email from SWTOR saying that they were going to have a State of the Galaxy stream for their latest official stream, and I'm like,
copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So, I also came across a video from KittyCat328, the YouTube user. It's called Stonewalls, and I got that on my whole links, and I'll have that in the show notes so you guys can check that out. It's really interesting. I typically have like fun videos. This one's a little more serious and kind of dealing with like suicide and stuff like that, and it was all done in game, and it's not just the cutscenes. It's actually utilizing this person went in and did the filming itself, and so I thought it was really good. So definitely want to check that out. And anything else? If you guys ever come across a link like that, a video contest, or a podcast, or some kind of site that really interests you, let us know. Give us a shout out, and we'll give them a shout out. So, anything else you could think of, Heather? I think.
No, not right now. I've got some friends with some special things coming up, but those are not to be talked about yet.
Not to be talked about. Oh, more secrets. I see.
Yeah. Super secret projects.
You guys and your, teases. I see.
I know. So we have a few extra things to say. If you're a guild looking to get your guild noticed, we didn't have a guild on here today because we had Eric Musco on the show, but why not contact us about being on a guild ready check on Corellian Run Radio? If you're interested, send an email to corellianrun@gmail.com or to me at heather@prettylittlesith.com.
Thanks to all the guilds who have contacted us, and stay tuned. We will be working on getting new guild ready checks and possibly community checkpoint articles. And also, don't forget to check out the great articles that we have on CRR this week. Please take a moment to leave us a positive feedback on iTunes. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app.
If you'd like to contact us or have any questions or ideas for discussion topics, email us at corellianrun@gmail.com. You can also follow and tweet us on Twitter at corellianrun. My personal Twitter handle is at Heather_PLS, and Jason is at JT_HollowNet. If you're on Facebook, like our Facebook page or join our Facebook group. You can also leave a voicemail for us on our website, corellianrun.com, on our Facebook page, and that could possibly be featured on the show. Finally, if you'd like to be a writer or submit content for our website, send an email to jason@corellianrun.com.
And again, we had some interest in that, so please keep an eye out. We will possibly have another writer joining us soon on the website, so keep an eye out for that. And if you have interest, like Heather said, let us know. Give us a shout out and send an email. That's going to wrap it up for us here at Corellian Run Radio. Thanks for all our fans and followers and the listeners that tune in, especially those in the chat room. Really appreciate you guys checking out. And until next time, I'm Jason.
I'm Heather. May the force be with you, or keep those blasters by your side, kid.
You've been listening to Corellian Run Radio, a Star Wars The Old Republic podcast. Tune in next time to hear Heather say,
Welcome to the team, Nicovola.
End transmission.